Hi, in this video we are going to review the metric system and then practice making some metric conversions with common metric units. So what I have up here you probably recognize from a different science course. It is some of the most common metric prefixes, and you've probably learned the acronym King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk as a way to remember the order of the prefixes. But I'm going to start here with the B, the base unit. So a quick review of metric units and what they're used to measure. In chemistry, we're going to use the metric system. So when we're measuring the length of something, we're going to use meters. Okay, so the base unit for length in the metric system is meters. When we're measuring volume of a liquid, we are going to use the base unit liter. Okay, so liter measures volume in the metric system. And when we're measuring the mass of something, we're going to use the gram. Okay, so these are the base units. And in the metric system, we can show that we've got a quantity larger or smaller than a base unit by simply adding a prefix in front of the base unit. Each prefix varies by a power of 10, so converting between units in the metric system is pretty easy. It's just a matter of multiplying or dividing by a certain power of 10, or in some cases you might have learned to just move the decimal. So let's start here at the top, king. So the K in king is going to stand for the prefix kilo. A kilo is the largest prefix that I have in this table right here. And a kilo is 1,000 times bigger than a base unit. So you'll notice that I've got the conversion. 1 kilo is going to equal 1,000 base units. So for example, 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. And then hecto is 10 times smaller than a kilo. So it is only 100 times bigger than the base unit. So 1 hectogram, for example, is equal to 100 grams. 1 hectometer is equal to 100 meters. So if this conversion here helps you, I would definitely jot that down. Deca is a power of 10 smaller, so it's equal to 10 base units. So 1 decagram is equal to 10 grams. Okay, now notice all of these differed by 1 power of 10. So every time you jump down on the scale, you're getting smaller by a power of 10, or we can think of it as 1 decimal place. Okay, after the base unit, what's smaller than the base unit is the deci. So a deci is 10 times smaller, so it's a tenth of a base unit. So for example, 10 decimeters is equal to 1 meter. A centi, we use centimeters a lot, so a centi is 100 times smaller than the base unit, so 1 centimeter is equal to 1 meter. And then milli, we'll use milli with milliliters a lot, and a milli is 1,000 times smaller than the base unit, so for example, 1,000 milliliters equals 1 liter, liter being the base unit. So here's a quick tip to remember how to get from a larger prefix to a smaller prefix. So when you're going this direction to the right, like I have here on my chart, you're going to a smaller unit, right? Kilo is the largest unit. And when you go from a larger to a smaller unit, your number is going to get bigger. So a couple ways that you can remember it. Every time that you go down a prefix, you're going to multiply by a power of 10, right? So if you just hop from kilo to hecto, you'd multiply by 10. If you just went from hecto to deca, you'd multiply by 10. If you went from kilo to deca, you'd multiply by 10 and by 10 again, so essentially 100. As I said before, you guys might have learned that you could just move the decimal. So if we're going to, if you learned that way, let me turn my pen on, then you might remember that if you're going from a larger unit to a smaller movement unit, you're going to move the decimal. to the right, however many jumps you have. So for example, if I'm going from kilo to the base unit, so if I'm converting a kilometer to a meter, I'm going to do 1 jump, 2 jumps, 3 jumps to get to my desired base unit. So that means move your decimal to the right 3 times. The opposite applies for if you're going from a smaller unit. So maybe if you're starting down here in the milli and you're going to a larger prefix. So if you're going from a smaller prefix to a larger prefix. So if you go from right to left, you would divide by the power of 10. That's appropriate. Okay, so divide by the power of 10. So going from milli to centi, you divide by 10. Because they just differ by 1 power of 10. If you were going from milli to deci, you would divide by 10 and then 10 again, so basically divide by 100. Again, if you're looking at this in terms of moving the decimal place, then you move the decimal place to the left however many times you're going to jump. So when you're going from right to left, move the decimal to the left. Okay, when you're going from a smaller prefix to a larger one. So just a quick summary of how you might do this using the latter method is just using decimal places. So determine your starting point, what prefix you're starting with. Count how many jumps you need to make, right? And that's going to equate to how many decimal points you need to move. So if we have this example, 4 kilometers equals X meters. We're starting over here at kilometers, right? So we're going to be going to a smaller unit, okay? And we're going to have to jump 1, 2, 3 times, okay? So we're starting at 4 kilometers. We're moving the decimal place to the right, okay? How many jumps does it take? We just said it takes 3. So what you need to remember is when you have a whole number, that decimal is after the whole number, right? So technically there's a decimal after that 4. We're going to jump 1, 2, 3 times, which means our answer is 4,000 meters. So then 4 kilometers, there's 4,000 meters. So now I want you guys to try your hand at some of these conversions. Pause the video really quickly and try the conversions that I have here. I've put the chart back up here. You can always rewind back if you need to do anything. So go ahead and pause and try these conversions. All right, let's check your answers. So 1,000 milligrams. So going 1,000 milligrams to grams, you're going from the right to the left. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3 jumps. And remember, when we go from a smaller prefix to a larger one, we move it to the left. So it's going to equal 1 gram. 1 liter is going to equal 1,000 milliliters, right? We're going from larger to smaller, and that's 3 jumps, and we go to the right. 160 centimeters is, sorry, my pen is not lining up. Oh, whoops. Hold on a sec. Okay, so 160 centimeters is equal to 1,600 millimeters. That's only 1 jump to the right because centi's bigger than a milli. 14 kilometers is equal to 14,000 meters because we're going to do 3 jumps and you move it to the right. 109 grams is equal to 0.109 kilograms, right? Because when we're going from smaller to bigger, we move our decimal to the right. 250 meters is equal to 0.25 kilometers. And then down here, what you needed to do down here to compare these numbers is you need to put them in the same units. So I converted 56 centimeters to meters, which would give me 0.56 meters, right? And that is clearly smaller, so less than 6 meters. Over here, I converted 7 grams. 7 grams to milligrams. A milli is 7 times smaller, so that would be 7,000 milligrams, which is bigger, right, than 698 milligrams. So there you go. Last thing, I'd like you to go ahead and put in your ISN, this metric table. So this one is very similar to the table that I showed you on the previous slides. The main differences, let me point those out here, are that I've added the prefix mega, okay, and the prefix micro down here, okay? So the reason that I didn't put these on here before is that a mega is actually 3 powers of 10 bigger than a kilo. So this jump from, say, a megagram to a kilogram is not just 1 power of 10. It's not just 10. It's actually 1,000, right? So you need to keep that in mind. If you're ever going from mega to kilo, it's a difference of 10 to the third or 1,000, okay? Because it is in 1 megagram, for example, there's 1,000,000 grams, whereas remember that 1 kilogram, there's 1,000. And then a micro would be the opposite of that. Some things just to refresh your memory that we just talked about if you want to label in your ISN. When you are going from a larger to a smaller prefix, so remember when we're going in this chart, when we're going down, you're going to move the decimal to the right. Okay, and just remember that this jump here is 3 decimal places. This jump here is also 3 decimal places. And then same as on our last table, see if I can get my pen all the way over here, when you're going from a smaller prefix to a larger one, you're going to move the decimal to the left. Okay, so go ahead and copy this down in your ISN on page 13 and we'll do some practice metric conversions. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.